Okay, here we go again. And let me prop up my mic here. And I usually do that before I start this thing, but we got to get going. There's a lot of stuff to get to. And by stuff, I mean ranting. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, this is the Midnight Skeptic, and it's show number 66, and hopefully I'll have this out on YouTube tonight, and I'm recording this on Wednesday, the 27th, and it's about 3:25 right now. And like I say, it'll be up on YouTube, and then on Sunday, May 1st. Wow, this year's going by rather quickly. Okay, the views of the woke Midnight Skeptic, and I'm going to start calling myself that. I am, in fact, woke. And even though Republicans use that as a pejorative, I wear that term as a badge of honor. Okay. My views, as I've said in the introduction here, are not, although they should be, the views of Petaluma Community Access. And it's been brought to my attention by station management that I sometimes stray too close to the edge of propriety. I'm guilty as charged. I've not received an email complaints or hate mail or death threats yet. I'd actually like to. I have enough people listening to me that I expect occasionally to get death threats or hate mail. Okay, shout outs. I got my international people, a couple over in the UK, a couple over in Ireland, a couple in New Zealand and Australia, a couple in Germany, and a couple in the Czech Republic. And then Rob Tomaszewski listens in. I'm not going to tell you who he actually is, although he has some position at Petaluma Community Access. And Keith K. He's a new local guy that listens in every now and then. So if you're listening to this show, Keith, howdy. Glad to have you aboard. Okay, locally, continuing the local people, Rob Nasser and Ariana, and Nariman, Tom and Nancy Throw, and Tim Conrad, a photographer extraordinaire. And then Rich and Kathy Berger over in Sebastopol, down to Pacifica, Stan and Kathy, Tiburon, Dennis and Megan. Dennis is my audio engineer, my computer engineer, my tech guy, my IT guy that I need every now and then. Okay, and San Francisco, Yvonne Santos. Down in LA, Jackie and Wayne. And, I've forgotten Katati, Kevin and Lori. They listen in occasionally. Okay, my Arizona, my brother Bran and his wife Mina and their daughter Andrea, my niece, who's a nurse down there. Again, take care of yourself and love your three little terrorists, as you call them, and especially love your husband. Karina Hilliard in Arizona, Shannon Reed in Arkansas, Florida, Amelia, Nelson, Alice, North Carolina, Hedda Doctor, and out on Long Island, Geraldine Goldfinger. Okay, that's a real quick run. Oh, the Sonora crowd. Bob and Sandy Fisher, their daughter Martha, who is a nurse. Take care of yourself, Martha, and Brad. Darrell Larson, I'm winging it now. Darrell Larson, Judy May, Leonidas Maciel, and down in Mexico City, Rosie Lopez Negrete, ex-Sonoraite. Okay, I kind of did that off the cuff, so to speak. Yeah, it came off all right. Okay. Yay. Good news. The Brooklyn Public Library offers young readers free library cards and access to banned books, of which there is a growing number. Thank you, Republicans. That's, I'm being sarcastic. Brooklyn's Public Library CEO, Linda E. Johnson, said about her Books Unbanned initiative, quote unquote, that, okay, this is what she said, we cannot stand idly by while books rejected by a few are removed from library shelves for all. Hear, hear. More than 1,500 books were banned in 86 school districts in 26 Republican-controlled states. And that was statistics from the PEN America analysis, PEN America. They're a book advocacy, writing advocacy group, and everybody of sound mind, inquisitive mind, curious minds should be disturbed by the looming presence of Republicans controlling our governments at the local, the state, and the federal level. When the November elections roll around, please, please, please get out and vote out, O-U-T, all Republican candidates. Even the good ones deserve to be voted out. And there aren't that many good ones, but they have chosen to align themselves with the racists, the non-traditional conservatives, the MAGA heads. That's who they choose to be with. If you lay down with dogs, you can expect to wake up with fleas. Okay, onward. The people who threw rocks at Ruby Bridges back in the early 60s. You know, what I've done here with my notes is I wasn't sure exactly of the year. And, of course, I forgot to look it up. But the people who threw rocks at Ruby Bridges back in the late 50s for trying to go to school. I think 1954 was Brown versus Board of Education. So, and then Ruby Bridges was trying to go to school, and I forget the name of the school. I did a whole segment on it. In fact, I read a book, children's books, about Ruby Bridges. I think it was a school in New Orleans, Louisiana, where her family had moved to because of better schools from their rural Mississippi town. Okay. The people who threw rocks at Ruby Bridges back in the late 50s for trying to go to school are now upset that their grandchildren might learn about them throwing rocks at Ruby Bridges for trying to go to school. They call it CRT. We can't have our kids exposed to that devil-inspired CRT. Okay, in the run-up to the 2016 election, Boy, that seems like a long time ago to me now. Although it's not. It's 6 years. Yeah, a lifetime for some. In the run up to the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton called these types of people deplorables. She was right, but it probably hurt her in the elections against the orange sociopathic bloat bag. Although Hillary got about roughly 3 million more votes than the orange sociopathic bloat bag, the way our ridiculous voting system is, the electoral college I'm talking about, the orange sociopathic bloat bag eked out a victory. So I think if Hillary Clinton would have been a bit more judicious in her calling out the Trumpian followers and not calling them deplorables, she might have fared a little bit better. She was right in calling them that, but it probably helped her lose the election. Okay, these 20 or 25% of the citizens of this country have always been with us, and that's my opinion. I'm not on this quoting any study, although I'm sure there are studies, because we've always had deplorables among us. Okay, sip time, sip time. Okay, these deplorable 20 to 25% were the diehard Confederate States hangers-on during the Reconstruction period. They were the backers of Jim Crow laws after Reconstruction, and the citizens who watched as lynchings took place in the first half of the 20th century. They were the supporters of Strom Thurmond and the Dixiecrats until LBJ signed the Civil Rights Act on June 2nd of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act on August 6th of 1965. They were the ones who abandoned the Democratic Party and became Republicans after LBJ signed those laws. They were the ones who set up segregation academies and redlined gated communities and booed Jackie Robinson when he broke the color line in 1948. Before the season started, the Brooklyn team played exhibition games against local teams throughout the South. St. Louis, when they were the only ones to have a Major League Baseball team at that time, before Major League expansion came around and the San Francisco got its Giants and the Los Angeles got its Dodgers, who moved there from Brooklyn. But St. Louis was the worst as far as booing Jackie Robinson and hurling the N-bomb at him. The stands were more or less about half full of these deplorables. Okay, Jackie Robinson in baseball games in the South. Okay, I'm still talking about these 20 to 25% of deplorables. They were the ones in Boston who threw rocks and spit at school buses in 1974 when busing was a thing. There was a federal court order desegregating Boston schools. Now, there was no formal segregation like there was down south. However, through redlining and other means to keep the blacks out of white neighborhoods, Boston schools were de facto segregated, and a federal judge instituted the program of busing to bus white kids into black schools and busing black kids into white schools. Well, Boston had its share of deplorables. They don't all come from the South, although it is more or less concentrated down south. Anyway, spit at school buses in 1974 when busing was a thing. They are the ones now who scream at teachers and school board members about wearing COVID-19 face masks, mentioning oppression of blacks in our history, CRT, and ban books that mention anything about the LGBTQ community. Hello, Ron DeSantis. Yes, they are deplorable, but today's GOP not only welcomes these deplorables into its fold, they have the whole Republican cult of the orange sociopathic bloat bag caters to the lowest common denominator of people in this country. And they are losing members. There are fewer and fewer people that call themselves Republicans. That is a good thing. Okay. And as much as I hate to see as many deplorables as there are, the fact that Republicans are losing voters right and left, I think in the long run it will be a good thing. My fondest wish is that the Republican Party, that's their word, they're actually a cult, would just disappear. And I have friends and a handful of relatives that identify themselves as Republicans, and they always bring up the Republican moderates. Okay, Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, Susan Collins from Maine, and worst of all, Mitt Romney of Utah. They say, well, all Republicans aren't like Louis Gohmert or Marjorie Taylor Greene. There are quite a few, they use this word, quite a few reasonable Republicans. Well, tough. These reasonable Republicans should just start a new party. I don't know what they want to call it. The Federalist Party or the Heritage Foundation Party or something. But the Republican Party has long since gone the way of the Whigs, in my mind. They've been taken over by the orange sociopathic bloat bag and the big lie. In order to be a good Republican, you have to be accepting of the big lie. The election was stolen. Okay. Although there was no evidence except for, a few wayward Republicans that attempted to vote twice or three times. Those are the only voting, what's the word? Irregularities that there were. Okay, I have a bit of good news. Finally, I guess people who are listening to this are breathing a sigh of relief that I have some good news. Okay. This lady named Freddie, Freddie, I guess that's a feminine name in the Netherlands. Anyway, Freddie Decker Overstegen. She died at the age of 92 back in 2018. Well, why am I even mentioning this? A female hero. And I don't know why her story, she and her sister's story, haven't been the subject of a book or a movie. It should be. Okay, why? Well, I'm going to tell you. Okay, at the age of 14, she would go into taverns in Holland and lure German SS officers into the woods. She was a member of the Dutch resistance. Now we're talking World War II here. In Germany occupied Holland at that time. I think officially it's the Netherlands. Holland actually is a district within the Netherlands. But anyway, the German Nazis occupied the whole thing. Okay. And she and her sister, older sister, joined the Dutch resistance. Okay. She would go into taverns and strike up a conversation. And mind you, she was only 14 and 15 at this time. Her older sister was 2 years older than she was. She would go into these taverns, and these horny SS officers, she was an attractive young girl. She would ask them if they wanted to take a stroll out into the woods with her. Okay. When the Nazi officer was thoroughly infatuated with her and ready for sex, she would shoot him. I guess she had a gun in her purse or in her belt or something. But anyway, she and her family, her mom and dad were divorced by this time, a couple of years before this time. So she was raised by her single mom along with her sister. They took in and hid Jewish families, and they were not rich at all. They were living almost at the poverty level, but her mom and she and her sister were communists, self-admitted communists or leftists, and they passed out flyers that opposed the Nazi occupation and came to the attention of the Dutch resistance leaders. Okay, so they asked their mom if they could join the Dutch resistance. Her mom said, yes, of course. She encouraged that. Well, okay, so that began the Odyssey. Okay, and they teamed up with a somewhat older girlfriend named Hannie Schaft, Shaft. And they would go around sabotaging bridges and railroad trestles with dynamite. They became explosive experts. Okay, Freddie was the first of these three girls to actually shoot a German soldier from her bicycle. Okay, Freddie, they agreed that they would do this. Freddie would approach a soldier in a tavern and ask him whether he would like to go for a stroll in the forest. It would be his last stroll. Okay. All right. So Freddie, like I say, she passed away in 2018, but a number of years before that, she was awarded a special Netherlands medal for her work in the Dutch resistance. Okay. There's been numerous articles about her in various places. So, if Hollywood is looking for a story of female bravery to tell, here you are. Okay. Um, Quick quote. And uh, Madeleine Albright passed away about 2 months ago. I forget the date already, but Bill Clinton, ex-president Bill Clinton, was talking with her on her deathbed, and one of the last things she said to anybody was, well, she said it to Bill Clinton, but she was almost gone by the time that she said this to Bill Clinton. Okay. Quote, "The only thing that matters is what kind of world we're going to leave to our grandchildren." Okay? And I heartily agree with that. And ultimately, that is the only thing that matters. That encompasses many things. Global warming, which is the overarching problem that's facing all of humanity on a somewhat narrower basis. One of the problems facing humanity is the COVID-19 outbreak and all of its variations. We've got to take care of that, or at least keep it down to manageable levels. And on a somewhat narrower view of things, one of the problems that just has to be taken care of is the cult of the orange sociopathic bloat bag and its cult members in this country. We've got to do something about them. Just vote them out of office and then get on with being the country that is honorable and that takes care of its citizens and blah, blah, blah. And then the other thing is the Russian invasion of Ukraine. All of these things are sort of intertwined, and they have to be taken care of. And so we can leave this world to our grandchildren in a much better place than, my generation found it. When I came into this world, World War II was just over. The world economy was righting itself. The Cold War, I grant you, was a big problem. But it sort of solved itself after a while because of the collapse of the Soviet Union and the specter of communism wasn't as big a thing as it was. Okay, well, it's since reared its ugly head again, but except for the global warming thing, which began to be noticed by the powers that be in the 70s and 80s, things weren't as bad back then as they are now. So, which problem do you address first? I think if we got rid of Republicans, that would kind of help the global warming thing, because then we could kind of concentrate on one, getting carbon dioxide out of the air, or at least stopping more of it to get in the air, and getting rid of Putin's troops in the Ukraine, and then start repairing the nation of Ukraine, and learning to live with COVID. I think if ex-President Trump just died and his family just moved away, and hopefully his followers would just filter back into the Southern Baptist pews and just forget about supporting the Republican Party. The world would get back onto an even keel. Okay, enough of that ranting. Well, not quite, because I've got some notes here. GOP creep candidate Eric Greitens, Greitens, who is running for the Senate seat from Missouri, and Donald Trump Jr. After shooting their semi-automatic weapons clips at a target range in Missouri, said, "Liberals beware." And Trump Jr. chimed in after shooting was all done, "Striking fear into the hearts of liberals everywhere, folks." You know, this was a staged event meant to be filmed and meant to be a political statement. Okay. After this was disseminated on Twitter, so that Missouri voters could see this. Okay. Absolutely nothing untoward will happen to either of these creeps, even though they could be said to be encouraging stochastic violence. Okay, well, what is that? Okay, I assume you all know what violence is. This stochastic part of it means a public demonizing of a particular group to incite violence against that group. Well, in this case, it's liberals. Okay, liberals, progressive, and woke people like me. MAGA heads, probably some small percentage of them will take this video as encouragement to assault people who they deem woke. I'm woke. Here I am. I'm not going anywhere. Bring your guns and shoot it out. If you want to see actual violence perpetrated against people who the deplorables view as progressive or woke, I encourage all my listeners and viewers to Google running coal, Coal. It's these pickup driving Southern good old boys that are all MAGA heads. In fact, they were here before the MAGA red hats were around. It was actually pickup driving good old boys, anti-environmentalists. They fixed up their pickup trucks with a little switch inside to where their carburetors could spew more fuel directly into the engine, and out of the tailpipe would come this huge cloud of unburned diesel fuel. And when would they do this? If they saw a jogger by the side of the road just jogging and minding his own business, if they looked woke to them, well, they would do it. Or a bicyclist, or worse, people driving a Prius. They would pass them up and get right in front of them, flip the switch, and bury that, Prius, either electric or hybrid, in this big cloud of black smoke. And they would chuckle to themselves. they filmed it with their cell phones and posted it on the internet. So those are the types of people that see this thing on Twitter from Eric Greitens and Donald Trump Jr. just shooting their hearts out at a Missouri gun range and take the hint that we ought to go after him or Prius drivers and joggers and people that look like they're tree huggers. Okay. Ranting can actually be fun. Okay. But however, it's very thirst inducing. This is grape juice. Okay, here's a bit of environmental good news. The API, okay, well, who's that? American Petroleum Institute, usually the enemy of the earth, they've drafted a proposal urging Congress to adopt a carbon fee with rebates to Americans. Okay, I just, every now and then I have to take a time check break just to see how much ranting time I have left. Okay, urging Congress to adopt a carbon fee with rebates to Americans. They propose using the revenue raised for investments in new technology, and they call for tariffs on imported petroleum products to protect, the extractive industries from being overfeed. Okay. The Citizens Climate Lobby, or CCL, has advocated for such a policy for years. Citizens Climate Lobby is an environmental group that they do what they say they do. Citizens Climate Lobby. Okay. Also endorsing the carbon pricing is the Electric Power Supply Association, and they are essentially a natural gas association. They run power plants and that make electricity, and normally they're enemies of the solar power industry, but they're beginning to come around to realize that we do need carbon pricing in this country. Okay. That was good news. Okay. Here's a head-banging bit of, it's bad news actually, but this guy doesn't have that much of a sway in serious political scientific circles. Prince Charles of England, yes, that one, is a great fan of quack medicine. And he is proved to be the enemy of the Enlightenment. That is, I guess that's from his own words, because it's a quote. All right. Edzard Ernst. Okay, I'll spell this for you. I think he's Hungarian. Capital Edzard, capital Ernst. He's a member of the Skeptics community, as am I. And he writes a lot of books about alternative and complementary medicine and not complementing them. I mean, he's anti-alternative and complementary medicines, as am I, and that encompasses chiropractic, naturopathic, homeopathic, um, oh, energy healing in its various forms, and acupuncture, sacrocranial manipulation, total bunk. Um, Sacrocranial. I haven't done a show on that, or a segment of a show. Sacrocranial manipulation is this healer manipulate your skull bones, and according to them, you can move them around to heal various ailments. Total bunk. Let's see, osteopathic. Now, people who are listening to me out there probably object to me including osteopathic as one of the complementary and alternative medicines that I consider bunk. But I will do at least a small segment of a future show on osteopathy. They are fake doctors, in my opinion. All right. That's this thing about Prince Charles of England, believer in quack medicine, that got me off on this. SBM. Okay, capital S, capital B, capital M. Please, if you want the real information about scientific based medicine, Google this. The doctor who writes this SBM website, her name is Harriet Hall. I've met her at conferences about boy, these brain freezes. They aren't coming more frequently. I've got my wits about me, but science-based medicine, SBM. Please go to that website and read her columns on these various medical remedies that are bunk. And she herself was a flight surgeon in the Air Force, and after she retired from the Air Force, she went into private practice as a pediatric doctor. Okay. Here's some more good news. Religiously unaffiliated and atheistic and agnostic judges on the federal benches are increasing in number. About 12% of them identified themselves as such in 2015. Now it's about 20%. They appear comparatively hostile to religious accommodations under the quote-unquote free exercise clause, and are significantly less inclined to favor establishment clause claims. That's all very good news. Okay. Religious extremism. I've said over and over and over again that religion in general has been detrimental to human progress. Well, here's yet another example of that. Okay. Religious extremism, again, in Muslim Pakistan. A 21-year-old female teacher was stabbed to death by her colleagues who accused her of blasphemy. Her attackers believed that the Prophet Muhammad had ordered them to kill her in a child's dream. The child, a 13-year-old girl, said that the prophet, Muhammad, had come to her in a dream and through the dream accused the teacher. I don't even know if this girl was a student of this teacher's or not, but accused the teacher of blasphemy. Well, she told these idiots about her dream, and they believed it. They believed this girl was visited by the Prophet Muhammad and killed this poor Pakistani teacher. As if teachers worldwide don't have enough things to worry about. I could see that some of the stupid-ass MAGA heads in this country might encourage some of the more CRT teaching teachers to be killed. I that wouldn't surprise me. Okay. Here is, okay, if I talk to you about Pastor Greg Locke, capital Locke, in Nashville, Tennessee, of course, of the Global Vision Bible Church. He's the one that claims he can talk to demons. Okay, and what I'm going to do right now is try my best to imitate him. And all I've seen is excerpts from him online. I've never attended one of his church sermons, but okay. And I know what you really want, my listeners out there. I know what you really want. A deep journalistic exploration into the mind of dancing and screaming Pastor Greg Locke. He who is very concerned about discovering a stankin' witch. Okay, he's done the work. Okay. All right. And these are all from his actual sermon. Talk about a mega deplorable preaching to a whole church full of deplorables. Here we go. Devil, your foot soldiers are coming out tonight. They're coming all the way out. We will expel them. Pastor Greg Locke howled from the stage in a crowded white tent. Okay. You gotta leave, devil, he shouted. You gotta get out. Spirit of molestation, spirit of abuse, get out right now, Locke commanded. I'm still quoting. Every spirit of homosexuality, lesbianism, come out, come out. His wife ordered. No, okay, I was imitating the pastor. His wife said that. Okay. Every spirit of homosexuality, lesbianism, come out, come out. His wife ordered. Transgenderism, gender dysphoria, come out. We rebuke it. We rebuke it, Locke yelled. If you've had the COVID-19 shot, I'm telling you, you've got poison in your veins, Locke thundered. Locke thundered. Oh, I lost my place. We call out the COVID-19 vaccine out right now. Keep that demonic spirit out of you right now in the name of Jesus. And that's just the opening lines. The guy who wrote this article is, he works for CFI and the Skeptics organization that I'm a part of. I'm having a brain freeze on his name, but I enjoy reading his columns online here. And this is all, these are quotes from the Pastor Locke, but edited. Okay. And, oh, geez. Paul Fidalgo. Okay. I think he's communications director for CFI, and he writes this column. Okay. Anyway, I was going to try to tell you what the name of this column was, written by Paul Fidalgo of CFI. Okay. Anyway, he goes on about the Pastor Locke. Gowan, I guess Paul Fidalgo got these quotes from the pastor from another person, capital Gowen, reports that Brian Larson, a fellow in Locke's town of Mount Juliet, Tennessee, quote, is concerned that Locke could encourage his followers to attack those he has deemed evil. This Larson says. Okay. If you look back at the Salem witch trials, you know what I mean. You've got a guy telling people there are witches and demons out there and to go get them. I guess I'm a woke demon. Go back and get them. If he claims somebody is dangerous and needs to be taken care of, something bad could happen, especially since Republicans are all armed, locked and loaded by the NRA. Okay? But what the pastor said, Pastor Greg Locke said, is kind of litany of all the current gripes about the cult of the orange sociopathic bloat bag, the stupid MAGA head conservative Republicans. Okay, they get this molestation in there. That's a QAnon conspiracy. It's a nod to them. Spirit of abuse, and all of these lefty demons are causing all this. Homosexuality, lesbianism. Come out, his wife ordered. Transgenderism, gender dysphoria. Come out, the wife said. And anti-COVID-19 shots, vaccinations. The stupid-ass MAGA heads are all against those things. Well, I'm winding down yet again. I'm going to finish off my grape juice here. All right. If anybody out there would like me to rant about something, please, the Midnight Skeptic at gmail.com. I will get it, and I'll talk about it. I'm open to ideas, and And if you don't like what I'm saying, let me know that too. Not that I will suddenly change into a Republican, but, that's the way life goes. I have my opinions, and I have an outlet for them here on KPCALP 103.3 FM. And if you want a more free speech, lefty view on things, listen into Mickey Huff's show. He has his show here on this station, KPCALP 103.3 FM, from 1 to 2. And then it's repeated again over at KPFA over in Berkeley, and they're at 94.1 on Fridays from 1 to 2 over there as well. Okay, I am going to play my out music right now. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Okay, that'll do it for another week. I'm seriously going to have to ask my audio engineer, Dennis, how I can kind of reduce or mitigate this echo in my headphones, because it really does screw me up sometimes and slow down my talking. And I should say it screws me up more than I already am screwed up. So anyway, until next week, this is the Midnight Skeptic telling you once again, think logically, think rationally, think scientifically, and most importantly, pet your cats. 58 minutes exactly. All right, I got it. Bye-bye.